Willow Creek Springs presents Healthy Living with your host, Joe Grumbine.
Well, hello and welcome back to the Healthy Living Podcast. My name is Joe Grumbine, your host, and today I have a very special guest, and her name is Kavita, which is a very interesting name, and I love it. And we've got a great story once again of transformation. She came from an investment banking background, and she went through her own personal journey of health. And, that's where we tie into this podcast. And she's got certified in yoga, Ayurveda, aromatherapy, and much more. Kavita, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Good, good. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, it's always a pleasure. I love to hear people's stories to health, and we've all got such a unique one. I'd sure love to hear yours.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I spent the first part of my, I would say, life in hustle mode, which, at the time was like a badge I wore of honor. Like, yeah, I only slept 4 hours last night because I was working. I'm so cool, and that really dictated, I think, a lot of what happened to my health, which is to say that I drank more coffee than water. And I maybe in 10 years had 5 home cooked meals. So really just set up a otherwise very healthy mind and body for disaster.
Absolutely. I think many of us have been there, that's for sure.
Right. But at the
All the
time there wasn't that
aspiration.
much knowledge. I feel like, or maybe it's as I got into the industry, there was a lot more knowledge. But at the moment, I was like, why is this bad? Why is this lifestyle not the right way to live?
Yeah.
And I think I had this moment when my son actually said they started completing my sentences, and I'd be like, "Oh, and they're like, let me guess, tired." And I'm like, "Oh, that's not how I want to be remembered. I don't want to be remembered as tired." And I think I just shifted my goal from, or really my definition of success from making the most amount of money or fame, if you will, to just feeling amazing. So I just made that my new goal. And that's where all the certifications came in, because I was like, I actually care more about feeling amazing and vibrant and energetic than I do about anything else. Not to say I don't care about those other things, but they became secondary, and this became the new goal.
So where did you start? Like you're in this corporate world, you're in this grind, you've got a kid, whatever else you have going on in your life, and then all of a sudden, did you always have experience with this other stuff, or did it all of a sudden you read a book or saw a sign, or what happened?
Yeah, no, nothing. Like I said, I lived the most non-organic, non-healthy lifestyle. What happened is I sort of had this moment of, I don't know if you want to call it breakdown or whatever it was, but I sort of rage quit. And I was sort of one of those people, also probably still am, who I would have conversations with random people all the time. And so I ended up meeting this woman, and I was telling her how I always was tired and I was forgetting things all the time. And I had Post-it notes, and I just had this crazy brain fog and lack of clarity. And I didn't know what was going on. And all my blood work was reflecting a very healthy and different story from what I was actually feeling. And so she introduced me to a botanist who lived in an adjacent town, who had a business in the essential oil world. And so that was my first intro into sort of a natural, healthy living. Now, of course, as a botanist, she had a whole very healthy lifestyle, but my first intro was really into oils. And even though I had them before, I never really understood the difference that formulation makes. So essential oils can really be a form of medicine. And so whatever she created for me, I started to already feel better within a couple months. And her company needed some help. So it kind of just worked that I came and ended up taking a job working as her CEO and learning. And that's where my first certification in aromatherapy came in.
Wow, so you had a beautiful weaving of your experience with this thing that you needed, and you were able to really get immersed in it.
Exactly, exactly. And then
Nice.
once I started to feel a little better, like I said, as I shifted that definition of what success looked like, I just, I started to explore yoga and Ayurveda and really come back to my roots, as I'm Indian by, cultural, but none of this really was appealing until I was like, wow, I feel so good. Like, this is why all those yoga hippies are so like happy all the time. Like, there's something to it.
Absolutely. So from this point, now you're running a company that's doing the thing that's helping you. Where do
That's
we
right.
go from here?
Yeah, exactly. So I think I felt like all this information was so disjointed and I really had to go out and learn and get all these different certifications and seek out. And I felt like there needed to be a platform that made it that all easier. Um, and so that's where the idea for Vibes Tribe came in. And what's great is I get to continually collect amazing teachers and learn about these different modalities because what works for one person might not work for another. I know on my journey, I met a runner and I tried running and I think I like killed my adrenals. Like it was just a total disaster for me. But for her, it was amazing. It brought her so much energy. And so I do really think that people need to experiment with what works for their energy and their body and find what works for you. Because sometimes the first thing you try doesn't.
Isn't that bizarre how, in this health world, I put quotes around it because there's so many charlatans and
Sure.
people that and right in the midst of the sincere people that are actually doing the healing. And yet there isn't a one-hit wonder. There isn't one answer for everybody. One person finds beauty and relief in one thing, the next person finds it toxic.
Correct. Correct. Exactly. Like even with the oils, some people swear they shouldn't have it in their skin products. And I swear you should bathe in it with the
Right.
proper dilution, right? So it just,
Exactly.
I think the important thing is to look at it as with some joy and fun and say, okay, I'm going to try. And it's like something cool, which, you get to a certain age, how many cool new things you get to try. So it's like, oh,
Right.
I'm going to try this modality. The other day I was feeling very stuck in my house in terms of like how it was. And we actually just had a feng shui expert come in to help create calm environments and sacred spaces. And so it was just a fun new way to look at cleaning my house, which I had to do but didn't want to.
Right.
And it made it fun. And I did feel better, right? Like energetically, once everything was clear and flowing, I felt better as well. So I think it's just that kind of thing where it's bringing in new modalities for fun, experimentation, and then seeing what works best for you.
Nice. So tell me about this project.
About Vibes Tribe?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it started because, again, I felt like there was this need to bring a platform together. And it is for women in midlife, because I do feel that there is a unique set of needs in our health that happens that it's never been addressed. Like, no one, not for very, very long time, did even people talk about menopause or what was happening to our brain and body during this time. And so I felt like bringing in all those resources, especially a lot of the different natural modalities like breath work and meditations and even like more gentle yoga specifically for it, was going to be really important to keeping women sane, because I've really seen a lot of friends like going crazy, right? Because your brain, it really affects the brain and it causes
You get
anxiety.
to a certain age, it
Yeah.
all comes flying apart.
Right. All of a sudden you're like, oh, like I feel like I'm going through, the beginning of hormones all over again, right? Like I'm a teenager,
Right. Only
but
the bad
tired.
way. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I just saw that there was really this need to help people recenter, reclarify, get their purpose, and do it in a way that was really dictated for them. Like, women speaking to women of the same age, kind of experience sharing, as well as providing all these different tools. And so the project is to continue to grow that platform so that those voices can be amplified and brought to the right audience. What's great is it's been growing amazing. We're almost at 8,500 members.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think that the need was clearly there. I was not the only person, and my friends are not all the only people going crazy in this stage of life. Um,
How does it work? It's a website? It's a
yeah.
physical place? How's it
So
go?
it's a membership platform. So it's a website that you log in. It's $24.95 a month, and you have access to hundreds of different types of classes and modalities, as well as different affirmation and positive products. And we call it the pink rebate. So instead of things being expensive, we sell them basically at cost.
Nice.
We can do as a part of the membership. So just kind of reminders that, we're stronger than the storm. It's one of our best-selling shirts and that sort of thing, to keep the positivity, because like I said, I think it's very easy to get in your head when you're a little bit imbalanced and kind of go down this windfall. I know that was happening with me. I was making kind of mountains out of molehills, right? Everything was
Right.
overwhelming. Preparing meals for the week was overwhelming. And so trying to bring back that sort of clarity and that like balance of like, okay, it's not that big of a deal. It's more that I'm not in balance. I'm not grounded.
So, as somebody who's dealing with a platform like this, you get approached by people all the time. And as I was saying, there's good people and bad people. What do you do to sort of filter out, how do you raise the bar and keep it with this product?
Yeah. So the experts that I take is mostly only, I would say on referral or somebody we've like seeked out because we really like love what they're teaching. I'm big on education. I feel like you have to study the matter to be talking about it. And then we take and experience the classes as a team to see if we feel like what they're saying works. Because look, a lot of these
Immerse yourself in the actual product before you just go and play.
correct, exactly. So like we'll take the course, we'll go through it, we'll discuss like, did we feel like it was helpful? Is it going to be useful to our members? And then if it is, if the answer is yes, then we put it on. And it's not just like yes, it's like a hell yes.
Yeah, good,
This is
good.
a definite great addition. And we have multiple people on the team do it because like I said, not everything works for everybody.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. It's in some ways you let a team guide things and you just drift around, but at the other side, if you have some leadership and a team, you can actually stake a course and go down it and maintain it. And I think that there's real power in that. I like what I'm hearing. We didn't really know each other much before you came on, and I said, well, let's just learn this as we're going. And I think a lot of the things that I like to talk about have to do with the holistic approach rather than a single-minded answer to things. Western medicine likes these single molecule answers for everything. And, in certain cases it works, but then they try to put it all in this giant envelope and say, well, it worked for you, it'll work for all these people. And then you have all these problems that come. Whereas a holistic approach, you take the problem and you say, well, let's see what might fit in that. And you have all these things and you start to, I don't know, operate with a little common sense. And
Yeah.
so from the client point of view, I suspect you've had a lot of growth. How did it all begin? Tell me about some of your first clients that came through.
I mean, my first clients were friends. So it's like it was friends and family. And then we sort of spread word. We have a Facebook group where it's called Holistic Anxiety. And so through that, we really grew pretty quickly because we were offering live breath work, live classes. So people could experience some of the experts and teachers that we had. And then again, it's like whatever resonated. And then we kept the price really affordable because again, we wanted people to be able to it was really this plight of I want everyone to have these tools because I feel like as a world and society, we will just all be better off if we're a little bit more grounded and a little less reactive.
Absolutely. So it's growing organically. You go from a Facebook group, what
Yeah. Well, we run ads now too, but yes.
right. But I'm just like trying to walk through it. And then
Yeah.
at one point you create this platform. And now that's a nightmare to a lot of people. I mean, there's so many platforms and I don't know. I don't know how many webmasters in my life, and most of them have been a disaster. How did you find a system that worked for you? I mean, it's a little technical, but it's kind of important to me anyways.
Sure. Well, I'm all about, using tools that are already out there. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. So we host the platform on Kajabi, which is a online platform to help host classes and
Nice.
things like that. So it's really great. It can be interactive. And so I think some of the teachers have like quizzes and PDF downloads and, different things. But again, not about reinventing the
Yeah,
wheel.
no, that's good. Get something that works and just use it. Yeah, I love that.
Exactly.
Well,
Exactly.
I suspect you've probably got some stories that just are remarkable. When you deal with a group of people, which is, I don't know, half the world's population, and then you deal with a subset of that people, which is maybe an eighth of the world's population, you probably have some dramatic impact. When you deal with something like menopause and you add to it all of life's traumas and issues. I suspect you probably have some transformative stories.
Yeah, no, it's been truly amazing to watch. We had one member say it was sort of her last chance. Like she was completely lost. And I think we do a monthly free workshop where anyone can kind of come on and we coach and provide it. And so, you know, she joined the breathwork class and she said that she literally couldn't, she was always shallow breathing. Like she couldn't take a deep breath. She was so anxious all the time and just had like really lost a lot of hope in life. And through just the breathwork classes, she's like, I was finally able to clear that weight. You know, and it wasn't like, oh, now I'm all better, but she was like, I now feel like I understand the steps I need to take to get better. And I think to me, that was just one of those examples of like, it doesn't have to be a lot. It doesn't have to take hours, right? It's a matter of taking 10 minutes a day, committing to doing that for yourself. Just honoring that commitment kind of feeds a cycle of belief in yourself, right? And feeling better. And we had the same thing with someone who was really, really in a lot of pain. And we have a Ayurvedic doctor who talks about inflammation and how to relieve it on our platform as well. And through her diet program that she had suggested, she was out of pain. Like she was off all prescription meds. Like I thought that was so incredible to be able to do it naturally. So there are so many sort of heart-touching stories. And what's great is people also find support with each other. Like, it's like, oh my God, I'm depressed and anxious. And someone will be like, yeah, me too, but I don't know why. Like, I don't know why either. Like nothing in my life suggests that I should be this way. I just am. And so I think just providing that thing of it's okay, wherever you are, it's okay. But what is the next step forward? Like, what's the next positive step you can take? And don't do it alone. Do it in community. Do it with other people and other women.
You have group sessions where different clients are able to interact.
Absolutely. Yeah. So once a month we do a live sort of community workshop where people can come on and they can get coached if they want. We'll do a breakout room if we feel like we need to help a certain subsect, but if not, it's really just leading through, you know, one of the modalities that we're teaching.
I find that to be some of the most powerful tools. And as a person who's, you know, in an instructor role or an admin role, I think you can often gain a lot of insight as to what the group needs as far as direction or you know, sometimes you learn a thing yourself. So that would be kind of my next thing is you've probably had some epiphanies through this. Why don't you share something that you've gained?
Yeah, I mean, I learn so much from the community and the teachers. I would say one of the biggest things I learned is I didn't have the best morning routine, and I know everyone talks about it being like the pivotal thing, but it really was for me so changing to do a little bit of. I always meditated a little bit, but more like intentional and with journaling. I felt like that was, and we have a journaling course that I taken from Dannon, who does a lot of the classes, and I just found it to be, you know, super, super illuminating on what's really important and what I'm really worried about. Because so often we think we're worried about one thing, but then when we start going down the path of journaling all the different components, we're like, oh no, it's actually that I'm worried about this, right? Like it's
I couldn't
actually
agree with you more. When I
has to
consult
do with health.
clients, that's generally the first thing I say is, well, let's figure out where you're at. Start writing it down.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden people are, if they do it, you know, it's more work than most people will do. But if you do it, all of a sudden you're like, oh wow, I didn't
Yeah.
see that. And you know, it's a powerful, powerful tool. So you've been at this for how long? When did this begin?
This has been, so I mean, I've been on the health journey for a longer, but Vibes Tribe's been a little over a year.
Oh, okay. Wow. That's it's moving quick. So where do you see where do you see it headed?
You know, the goal is to be the number one trusted platform for women in midlife. So that's, you know, that's my big,
Going all
hairy,
the way.
audacious goal. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right?
Exactly. Why not? Why not?
I
Exactly.
love it. I
I
love it.
think, you know, one of the things I would also say to that question is from the community, what I also get a lot of is sometimes even I get lazy with what it is and the joy. And sometimes I get that reminder of like, wow, this works. Right. So every time someone's like, oh my God, I feel so much better, or you're like, oh yeah, like this works. If the goal is to be vibrant and live a vibrant, healthy life, you know, practicing different natural healthy modalities works.
I love it. I love it. Well, this is that magic moment where you get to give your pitch and let everybody know how do you find this Vibe Tribe.
Yeah, so it's vibestribe.co, and on our website there is a link for a free ticket, and you can join our monthly event that way. It's always a great way to kind of get an intro into the tribe, or you can join our Facebook group, and obviously you'll be all in the know there as well, which is Holistic Anxiety Relief for Women. But those are the two places, and I'd love to see everybody.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, Kavita, it's been an absolute pleasure to have this conversation. And I would have to say, I would highly recommend, if I was a menopausal woman, I would definitely want to investigate this, but certainly I know plenty of you, and I would highly encourage it. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Beautiful. This has been the Healthy Living Podcast. Again, I'm your host, Joe Grumbine, and we will see you next time.
This has been another episode of the Healthy Living Podcast. We produce this show so that people can share their stories, people that have overcome obstacles, people that are undergoing obstacles. We're building a community of health-minded individuals. If you're interested in supporting the show, please leave a review on the platform you're listening to it on. If you're interested in becoming a guest, please send an email to itsjoegrumbine@gmail.com, or you can send a note into the notes section of the podcast. All right. Well, thank you for supporting this show, and we hope you've enjoyed it.